I'm Travis Monroe, the Outdoor Club Coordinator for the YMCA of Greater Oklahoma City. And today I'm in my garden, and I was thinking about all the textures and smells and tastes that are in my own backyard. I thought we might build a sensory box, something for you to investigate nature in your own backyard. So while I gather up the rest of the spring strawberries, why don't you think about the plants that are growing around your patio or your backyard or even in your neighborhood. And we'll get back together here in a few minutes. We'll talk about the supplies you need to build a sensory box. So, to build the sensory box, you only need a couple of things that you can find in your house. You need a box blade or a pair of scissors that are safe to use so you don't hurt yourself. Get your parents to help you with the box blade. A piece of gauze that you would use if you were to get a cut and you had to tape it over your sore. Just a piece of medical gauze. You're going to be able to sniff through this. Your journaling pen, obviously you need a journaling pen. Duct tape, a buff, or a bandana to serve as a blindfold, and a box. It could just be a shoe box, or in this case, it's a priority mail box. And I've already cut off the lid on this thing, so it's open on the top. And I also made a cut here on the side, just with the scissors. I just cut up like this and across, so that comes off. And at the very top, I cut a little hole that's big enough for the gauze to fit over. I use the box blade for that, so be careful. So now what do? Take the gauze, and you open it up, so you can't see through it, but you can smell through it. And you put it over that hole, the hole in the top of the box. And now I'm going to take just a little piece of tape. I'm going to take that down so it doesn't move. So what this allows me to do is I have a hole in the top of my box that I can't see through, but I can smell through it. I also have a hole in the side of the box here that I can put my hand in. So when someone puts something under this box, I'll be able to put my hand in there and feel it. If it's aromatic or it has any sort of a smell, I'll be able to put my nose down to the gauze and put my finger right up next to it, holding that item, and I can smell it too. So I can use both my sense of touch and my sense of smell to figure out what might have been placed in the box. The other thing you can do is if it's too big of an item, you can always put a bandana over your eyes, and then you can use your smell. You might even use your taste if it's appropriate, and you can use your touch again. So that's why these items are necessary. And then what you want to do is write down your findings, because you may discover something pretty interesting when you discover these nature items that you have found and are using in your sensory box. Okay, so I went on a nature walk, because the next thing you need to do is gather the items that you're going to use in your sensory box. The best thing you can do is go on a nature walk with a couple of friends, and they have a sack and you have a sack, and they gather a bunch of stuff that you're not aware of, and you gather a bunch of stuff that they're not aware of. That way you can put things in the box for them to discover. They can put the things that they found in the box for you to discover. So what are some of the things I found? Obviously earlier I had the strawberries. They feel a little bit like a wet rubber ball. They have a good smell to them, obviously a good taste. I found a bunch of bark. Cedar bark, which is really interesting. Pine bark. River birch, elm. So one of the things I might do is cut up all of these, or have a piece of each one of these inside that box, and ask the person, can you figure out how many types of bark there are? That'd be interesting. You could even smell some things, because pine has a smell, cedar has a smell. I also picked some of those magnolia tree blooms, the soft kind of buttery bloom petals, and some of the magnolia tree leaves that are, like we said, real woody and stiff. Got some pine cones, both one that's still tight and one that's already opened. I might put the tight one in there, and also one of these little pods, little seed pods, and put both of those things in the box to try and figure out what they are. You could put the pine needles themselves in there. You could cut them up so they weren't so obvious that they're pine needles. They have a smell. They even have a little bit of a taste. You can put them in your mouth. What else did I get? Oh, I also picked some wild flowers, dandelion flowers and clover flowers. So both of those things that go in there, they have a different feel to them. I also, earlier, we talked about lavender and rosemary. If you look at those, they look very similar. I can tell by the touch that one of them's rosemary. It's stiffer and woodier, and the other one's softer. You can definitely tell by the smell. So what you'll do with these, if I put both of those in there and I had to guess which one was which, I would roll it between my fingers to open up some of that aromatic smell, put it up here by this gauze, and smell through that and figure that out. You could also use the buff or the bandana just to blindfold yourself and have people hand you things, and you had to figure out what they are. Maybe two different types of bark, and you have to discover which one is which. You want to make notes in your journal, so the next time you're out, you can identify these different plants by the things that you discovered about them. And you can make this fun, because you can put all sorts of dried, dead things in here. Just make sure they won't hurt anybody. You don't want to put a rose stem in there with a bunch of thorns and someone gets poked by those. But use your imagination, look around your yard, find some interesting things, and help other people discover something about the nature that's in their backyard. Have a lot of fun.